Coming up on the Stifel Snow Show this week, we'll start in Jasna, Slovakia, where Mikaela Shiffrin continued her dominance with an apt 95th World Cup victory for the 1995 baby. Next, we'll visit storied Kitzbühel and the legendary Strife, where the steepest part of the course, the Stifel, forces skiers to jump into the jaws of the unknown. Then to Laax, a heaven in the Swiss Alps that boasts a massive slopestyle course and the largest competition halfpipe in the world, and where Kitp returned. Everybody, I'm Cara Banks, welcoming you back to the Stifel Snow Show, where we bring you the latest in snow sports from around the globe each week. This week, the US ski and snowboard team visited some of the most scenic and legendary slopes across the world. The men and women's moguls teams both went north of the border to Val-Saint-Côme in Quebec. Meanwhile, long known as a hub for snowboarders and free skiers, the riders were in Laax, Switzerland. Oberhof, Germany provided an ideal mid-forest landscape for the cross-country teams. Iconic Kitzbühel welcomed the men's alpine competitions in Austria, whilst women's alpine travelled to Jasna, Slovakia, where Mikaela Shiffrin inched towards a 100th World Cup victory. Well, en route to another milestone in an already storied and successful career. Shiffrin started on solid footing to open Jasna with a second-place finish in the giant slalom, marking her 149th career World Cup podium. But the day was bittersweet. Mikaela's top rival and Slovakia's own Petra Vlhova suffered a crash that ended her season. Run one of the giant slalom in Jasna was an eventful race. The crowd were overflowing with excitement to see home favourite Vlhova, whose run started strong but quickly unravelled, forcing her to try and correct, but ultimately left twisted and tumbled there into the safety netting. The once raucous crowd were left pensive, and Sweden's Sara Hector could only watch on in concern from the leader's chair. The result was a season-ending knee injury for the Olympic gold medalist and kept Hector firmly in the lead. On to run two, and a determined attempt from Mikaela Shiffrin was made even more remarkable on what turned out to be a slick and windy course. Her adept handling of the conditions placed her in a position of strength, with Hector's run still to follow. While the Swede, who won the Olympic gold medal in giant slalom in Beijing, dominated. It was a performance Shiffrin deemed as untouchable. Hector's was the fastest in both runs, ultimately 1.52 seconds ahead of Mikaela, which, by the way, is the biggest winning margin in a women's giant slalom in 20 years. Onto the slalom, and it seems as though Mikaela Shiffrin is getting closer to reaching an unthinkable 100th World Cup victory this season. Her Jasna lead heading into run two would have you believe she is becoming unstoppable. Here's our Steve Carino on the call.
94 World Cup wins, 81 podiums in slalom, tied with Ingemar Stenmark. That is some stellar company. And Shiffrin knows that she doesn't have to go all out. And she is so savvy tactically. And where she absolutely smoked everyone in the first run, as she does so often, it's in the final seconds. And there you can see, just a little bit careful going through that combination. It has time to burn, but is she running out? Oh boy! Down to 200ths of a second now. Mikaela Shiffrin needs to get on it. Ludic was fast through here. Mikaela Shiffrin, the drive for 95. Can she get it? Ludic watching on, and Shiffrin rallies up the score. 95 World Cup wins, a number that was unthinkable when Ingemar Stenmark retired with 86.
Simply unrelenting and unyielding, this 95th World Cup victory is yet another notch and literal crowning moment on her potential way to 100 and beyond. Well, to Kitzbühel, Austria now, and time to turn our attention to the men's alpine team, who took on one of the oldest ski races in the world in its storied 84th year. So let's move to our Fast Facts powered by iFit. Welcome to the world of intelligent fitness. The Stifel, an imposing name for an Austrian ski slope with a vertical drop of over 2,800 feet and a maximum gradient of 85%. It is no wonder winners at Kitzbühel achieve instant legendary status. Run 1 of the men's downhill had a delayed start due to low visibility, but once underway, Switzerland's Marco Odermatt began confidently, clearing the Mauserfalle with seemingly not a care in the world. His speed game strong. It was truly a satisfying start. And next up would be US's Ryan Cochran-Siegle, a third generation, of course, of the fabled skiing Cochrans. He impressed the crowd with his buttoned-up performance on the legendary Kitzbühel Falls, leaving Odermatt actually a bit unsure of landing on the podium himself. But the Swiss superstar was left relieved as it was revealed that RCS fell a mere 100th of a second short of taking third and the podium. Ryan couldn't believe how close he'd come after the best run of his season. France's Cgy and Zahran was the hero. A lightning start and tight turns saw him claim the Mauserfalle as his own. The crowd simply in awe of his speed and technique, resulting in a roar from the champion who felt their energy. So Zahran on top, Italy's Florian Schneider in second and Marco Odermatt third. The Frenchman's team were seen bowing to their king of Kitzbühel. The next day in the men's second downhill, it might seem the king was surely defending his crown. The 29-year-old Zahran, a tech-to-speed racing convert, was ready to do it all again, apparently. No doubt buoyed by the roar and whistles of the crowd, Zahran was unstoppable, nailing, if you blink, you'd miss him, that kind of speed. He sailed into the finish to mass applause and back-to-back wins on the most prestigious men's alpine skiing World Cup race. Acting on quick impulse, Zahran unlatched his skis and jumped atop a safety barrier in full rock star, made worthy of a concert encore. Zahran made his World Cup downhill debut in December 2022. He was victorious by 91 hundredths of a second over world champion Marco Odermatt.
It was the best feeling ever. I saw the green light ahead, Marco. I said I will do like him, but better jump on the air fence and celebrate with the crowd. I enjoyed every moment and I will continue.
Well, the festivities continued. It looks like the trendy Londoner in Kitzbühel had the best party they have ever had. Say the social posts of patrons in the establishment. The king of Kitzbühel was atop shoulders. It seems après ski is shirts optional when the crowd's made up of World Cup and Olympic champion skiers and their #1 fans. Well, after the break, we have US gold medalist joining us in studio. Peekaboo Street will talk all things World Cup alpine skiing. I think she's currently visualizing or will explain what the athletes do. Stay with us right here on the Stifel Snow Show. Well, we're back and we've got a lot to talk about, from Mikaela's milestones to, of course, the legend of Kitzbühel. So it couldn't be more perfect, really, to have the 1998 Super G Olympic gold medalist Peekaboo Street joining us in studio once again today. In fact, the first ever two-time guest in studio on the Stifel Snow Show. So thanks for coming back. Yeah. We've got to speak about Mikaela. I mean, amazing, isn't it? A few comments about her getting her 95th World Cup title. She was born in 1995, special number for her. But obviously, it's creeping one closer to 100. I think we all believe it's achievable, but is it achievable this season?
Absolutely is. It's not a matter of if, it's when. She has like 17 races left that she can do it in this season, and so it's just a matter of when she pulls it off. And it's something we never thought we would be talking about. So astonishing, and such a long career of staying healthy and performing.
Right, I mean, it transcends sports, really, if you think about anyone that's managed to collect this number of accolades or on their way to do so. We've got to talk about Cgy and Zahran. I mean, he used to be a tech specialist, and now he's switched his skills to speed. How impressive was his double downhill win last weekend?
So impressive. And to come from GS to be a downhiller now. And he won Wengen and then came into Kitzbühel just ready to rock. And, you know, being able to be a GS specialist and then switch to speed events, that's an attest to the technology advancement, right? The skis are really similar now over the course of all the disciplines, and he was able to come in and just use his technical prowess as a GS skier to then embrace the speed and the intenseness of a downhill and become one of the ones to beat.
Well, speaking of that course, let's take a little look with our telestrator, because his line that he skied was so impressive and so aggressive. Just talk us through it.
So he keeps really good pressure on his tips and then clears that gate with extra room. And then as he comes into here, he knows he's got enough height on this side hill to keep him where he wants to go. Everything pulling away, gravity pulling hard like a magnet off to the right of that downhill ski. But he sees a beeline for that next gate, and he goes for it. He lets gravity pull on him a little bit, just barely clears that gate, smacks that gate going 80 miles an hour. That hurts. But here's where he seals the deal. He lets his ski run out and wide. The yellow box shows where everyone else was skiing. Look at how much further outside of that he is. That's him carrying all the momentum that he built along that side hill, letting gravity pull on him. Then it's a matter of keep your hips up while that elephant to the G-force sit on your lap, and then payday into the finish.
Double Kitzbühel winner, back-to-back days the same weekend. Just incredible, and certainly kind of awoken everyone to follow him, no doubt, the rest of the season. Let's speak about American Ryan Cochran-Siegle. How close he came to a podium finish, just 100th of a second behind Marco Odermatt. Not only is he trending, I think, in the right direction, but let's speak a little bit about his training, because he has this kind of unique tactic where he wears dark glasses to kind of prepare him for race day and maybe help, particularly on the low visibility day, which was run one of the downhill. What's your take on this technique?
I love it. It's his theory in how he can make training more difficult than racing, and therefore racing seems like it, you know, it's good to go. It's cakewalk. He wears the dark lens to make his eyes have to work really hard to focus and have that depth perception of where is that snow, when is it going to come at me, when it's going to go away from me, and what I do with my suspension, which is my legs, in order to manage all of that terrain and use it to my advantage. The other thing that's super cool about it for him is it's a little intimidation factor, right? He likes the idea of wearing the dark lens and feeling like I'm so confident that I can wear a dark lens. Everybody's got to, you know, step up to this plate. And I mean, honestly, when you're working in finites like 1/100th of a second, any little edge you can get is an edge that you want. And he's being crafty about finding them.
Got to find any inch you can. Let's speak about another American, Sam Morse. He also had a strong weekend at Kitzbühel, by the way. 2 top 20 finishes in downhill. What do you know about him?
Sam is such a great human being. He's just a great guy. But besides that, he has so much invested in this sport. He has been his own steward and has been really paving his own way. He came into last season needing to qualify to be invited back to the U.S. ski team in Aspen. And while he was having all that pressure, he was tuning his own skis, which for me is unimaginable. My ski tech who prepared my skis for downhill was a genius, and I can't imagine having to try and do that myself. Not only did he do it, but he prevailed, and he got invited back to the team, and now you're seeing perpetually him being one of the top Americans in finishing.
Well, that is hard work paying off, isn't it? Okay, so keep an eye on Sam Morse. And let's speak a little bit about something that if you watch a lot of skiing, you'll seeing, and that is athletes appearing to visualize a course before a run. Some use their hands, others maybe their full body to get into it. Can you explain what is going through their heads as they try and prepare?
Yes, I can. So it's one of the things we're taught when we're young, is to learn how to envision yourself skiing. And there are 2 different kinds of visualization. There's one where you see yourself from outside, almost like you're watching through a camera lens, from the front, from the back, from the side, or even now with drones from the top. But what you ultimately try and do is get inside of yourself and be behind your eyeballs. The hands are your skis. The hands are you working your skis and your rhythm over the terrain. Some people, like you see here, getting super immersed in it, making big turns with their hands in order to simulate the turns they're making with their skis. They're visualizing themselves run over the terrain and maneuver. Here, a slalom skier doing the rhythm, right? Boom, boom, quick rhythm, back and forth, really feeling the pace and the action of a slalom. Definitely something that is mastered and something they're all extremely good at. And the one thing that is so cool about this is if you were to put a stopwatch on any one of these athletes, they would get a time that is almost the same as the race performance, like probably within a half a second.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And also, nice to have had that explained, because sometimes you think, what are they doing? Just like jamming out at the top of the run. Yeah. Good to know. You always teach us a thing or two, Peekaboo. Thanks so much for coming in studio and being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Peekaboo Street with us on the Stifel Snow Show once again. And stay with us, because after the break, as the US ski and snowboard team exclaimed on social media, B. Kim just did that. Indeed, her future is so bright. So find out what the 16-year-old did as B joins us from Aspen when we come back. Two-time Olympic gold medalist in halfpipe Chloe Kim returned to World Cup competition and a welcoming crowd in Laax, Switzerland, for the first time since the 2022 Beijing Olympics. She may not have gotten the return she hoped for, but she closed her first contest in a respectable fourth place after two uncharacteristic crashes. All eyes were on another Mammoth Mountain native, B. Kim. The 16-year-old landed her first ever World Cup podium after ending the day in second place. And we can now say, hello, B. Kim, as you're known on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for joining us today from Aspen. Let's speak about this, a field of stacked veterans, and you finished second, of course, in the halfpipe in Laax. Can you describe your emotions at securing your first ever World Cup podium?
Yeah, I mean, I was just in shock. To be honest, that was the main feeling, because Laax is such a snowboarding core event, and there were so many incredible riders in the field, and my heart goes out to all the girls who are injured and hoping for a recovery from them to the sport. But yeah, I was in shock and just so happy that I landed my run and was able to stand up there on the podium.
Yeah, the satisfaction of landing runs is real. And of course, I mentioned Chloe Kim. After your podium, she was so full of pride and supportive of you, complimenting your ride and calling you Uni. Just confirming, does that mean big sister in Korean, right? You're technically not related, but tell us about your relationship.
Yeah, I mean, we come from very close hometowns and the same home mountain, so being able to look up to her in the sport as like the insane rider and just amazing person that she is, and especially as an Asian American in this sport, she's really paved the way for a lot of athletes, and I've looked up to her since I was very little. So it means a lot.
And now we've seen her back, really, for the first time in nearly 2 years, which is awesome. So speaking of your hometown, you're from Rancho Palos Verdes in California, but your roots, of course, on Mammoth Mountain, as you mentioned, where the Toyota US Grand Prix is nearly upon us at the end of this month. How much are you looking forward to that and competing on home soil?
Yeah, I'm super excited. This will be my first time competing at the Mammoth Grand Prix. I foreran it a few years ago, but it always means a lot to be at your home mountain and to be able to just show the hometown crowd my skills in my riding. So yeah.
Just 16 years of age, B, what a talent you are. You're certainly on our radar, and we can't wait to watch you the rest of this season. Best of luck, and thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Well, if you're into rad, gnarly and sick sports, then you're surely into World Cup level snowboard slopestyle. On the women's side, it was nothing short of wow watching 2022 Beijing silver medalist and reigning slopestyle Crystal Globe champion Julia Marino captured the Laax Open title for the second time in her career. It was also an exciting day on the women's side in free ski slopestyle, with Eileen Gu returning to this discipline for the first time in 2 years. She landed many a successful trick to earn second on the podium. 19-year-old American Jay Riccomini also came to show his absolute best. Hard work paying off with an effective and disciplined run that saw him take third, the best finish of his career. Reigning Olympic gold medalist Mathilde Gremo, with a ferocious start on home soil, landed in first. Port Matilda, Pennsylvania's Jay Riccomini, who put together an impressive run, took home his first career podium on the women's side. Back in July of 2021, a then 17-year-old Riccomini, who uses he, him pronouns, shared on Instagram that he was a, quote, gay transgender female to male, and that he would, quote, keep skiing and competing as a person in the female category. Rickamini's post concluded with, "Bring it on, I'm ready for what the world is going to give me." Since then, he has had 8 World Cup starts with 3 inside the top 10. He'll compete next in Mammoth at the end of the month. While the men's side gave striking free-ski slopestyle performances with 4 American athletes placing in the top 10. But none seemed a match for Norway's 23-year-old Berk Ruud this hotly contested time around. Olympian Mac Forehand laced together a huge second run, the 22-year-old Southport, Connecticut native ultimately taking second on the podium. Park City's Alex Hall also came to lay down a strong performance, less than 2 points behind his teammate. Hall finished off the podium in 4th, and rounding out the competition, Canadian Max Moffat in 3rd. All this, and we haven't even touched on the exciting news out of moguls and cross-country, including top US athletes Jalen Koff and Jessie Diggins, of course. Stick with us. That is still to come on the Stifel Snow Show. The sport of moguls commands exceptional control, skill, finely honed technique, speed, fitness, resilience. I could go on. Well, this World Cup season overall, including both moguls and dual moguls, has produced enviable results for the US women's team. Of note, 5 US women have finished on the World Cup podium in either discipline for the 2nd season in a row. The most recent time that happened before last season was back in 2012-13. Olympic silver medalist Jalen Koff leads the overall for the US with 5 World Cup podiums. And if you haven't heard of the Pain Cave, well, welcome to the world of elite cross-country skiing and the toughest mental battle for endurance athletes in this discipline. By all accounts, in this World Cup season, athletes have already visited many a pain cave. Nevertheless, it is 2 Americans towards the top of the overall women's standings, with 3-time Olympian Jessie Diggins on top, her teammate and 2-time Olympian Rosie Brennan in 3rd behind Sweden's Linn Svan. Well, sending it, quote, hard and smart, as she put it, Diggins took to social media to declare that while it would hurt her to sit out of the relay in Oberhof last week, she was finding that she would need more post-Tour de Ski recovery time. Having the confidence to pull back, she said, being a pillar of her prioritised self-care. Well, full circle now to Deer Valley, where apparently worlds nearly collided for 2 Olympic gold medalists. A lot of fun to see Lindsey Vonn and Ted Ligety find a little synchronicity on the slopes together, with Lindsey commenting on social media, "Never grow up." There weren't any World Cup podium aspirations for the 2 that day. The real prize seemed to be finding joy in friendship on the snow. Well, mark your calendars for some dynamic upcoming freestyle and aerials action to come on CNBC, and of course our next episode, February 3rd at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. It's been a pleasure, as always, being with you here today on the Stifel Snow Show. I'm Cara Banks, and we'll see you next week.